Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really cracking open the playbook for elite performance.
Yeah, but maybe not the usual parts of the playbook people think about.
Exactly. We're skipping the usual stuff, time management, motivational talks. Our mission today is really simple.
Hmm?
We want to uncover the actual sort of neurophysiological foundation, the bedrock that lets people in really high-stakes jobs.
Like Wall Street or complex law cases, maybe elite sports, emergency response.
Right, all of those. What lets them perform at their absolute peak consistently, day in, day out?
And that's the big paradigm shift, isn't it, that our sources are pointing to. For too long, we've kind of treated the brain like this computer you just upload software onto.
Yeah, just add more knowledge.
Right. But this emerging field, cognitive training, rehabilitation, it shows us success isn't just what you know. It's really about the physical function, how optimally your nervous system is actually working.
Okay. It gets at those critical underlying things. How fast you make decisions, how resilient you are to stress, your capacity to recover. So if you're looking for that edge, that key to sustained excellence, this is kind of where the real action is.
I think so.
So today, we're going to unpack the key biomarkers, look at some, cutting-edge tech interventions, and the nutritional strategies the absolute top pros are using right now.
To systematically upgrade their cognitive resilience.
Okay, let's dive in. Where do we start? The command center, maybe? The autonomic nervous system? The ANS?
The perfect place to start. Yeah, the ANS. When we talk performance, it really boils down to this balance, like you said, between the gas pedal and the brake in your body.
The gas and the brake. I like that. Sympathetic is the gas.
Exactly. Sympathetic activation. That's your fight or flight.
Yeah.
You need it for intensity, for focus, for action.
And the parasympathetic is the brake.
That's the one. Parasympathetic recovery. The rest and digest. It's essential for repair, for calming down, for, recovery. Truly high performance means you can cycle smoothly between the two, not get stuck on one.
Okay, cycling between them. But that sounds a bit abstract. How do you actually measure that ability? Can you put a number on it?
You can, and that's where heart rate variability, HRV, comes in. It becomes this essential real-time biomarker for exactly that function.
HRV, so it's not just my pulse, my beats per minute.
No, not at all. It's much more subtle. It's the tiny, millisecond level variations in the time between each of your heartbeats.
Okay.
So when your nervous system is flexible, when it's recovered, when it can shift gears efficiently between gas and brake, that variability between beats is high.
High variability is good.
Generally, yes. Low HRV, on the other hand, tends to indicate a system that's kind of rigid, stressed, maybe depleted. It suggests you're stoked with your foot on the gas.
And there's solid proof for this. It's not just theory.
Absolutely. The evidence is really concrete. We looked at this one study on collegiate wrestlers.
Yeah.
Frankly, the data is kind of shocking.
Okay, tell me.
Athletes whose nighttime resting HRV values were consistently above 70 milliseconds. They pretty much all achieved All-American status, elite level.
Above 70 and below.
Those whose HRV stayed below that number, they just didn't reach that same elite level. It seems you just couldn't fake that kind of deep physiological recovery needed for top performance.
Wow. Okay, so that's athletes. What about other high-pressure jobs?
Well, the implications are huge. Think about a negotiator, maybe a police officer in a tense situation. Our sources mention studies showing higher HRV links directly to better decision-making under pressure.
Makes sense.
And, crucially, a lower chance of making those split-second, high-consequence errors, like use of excessive force, for instance.
So let's bring it back to, say, a professional listening to this, maybe a trader on Wall Street, a surgeon, a lawyer in court. If their HRV is chronically low, maybe from bad sleep, constant stress, they're actually measurably less effective at their...
That's what the data suggests. Their judgment is likely impaired, their emotional reactivity probably goes up, and their ability to accurately size up risk, it's diminished.
It's literally like bringing a dull knife to surgery, an unreliable tool for a critical task.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And it sets up this paradox that researchers talk about, the stress performance paradox.
Okay, what's the paradox?
We actively seek out high-stress environments.
Right.
They drive us.
Right.
They lead to achievement, innovation, rewards. We thrive on it, or think we do.
Yeah, that's where the action is.
But those very stressors over time can erode the precise neurophysiological systems, that HRV, that balance that you need to sustain that excellence long term.
Right. It's kind of frustrating because you see people who seem to thrive on stress. They look healthy, energetic.
Externally, maybe. But our sources pointed to examples like medical professionals. They might look phenotypically healthy, But their HRV scores show they're severely compromised. They're just living constantly in that sympathetic overdrive.
Stuck with the gas pedal floored.
Exactly. They're stuck. And that chronic activation, without efficient recovery, leads to what we call maladaptive stress responses.
Maladaptive, meaning not helpful.
Worse than not helpful. It means things like hypervigilance, always being on edge. It means systemic chronic inflammation. And, critically for performance, a big drop in cognitive flexibility. You get tunnel vision.
The goal isn't to get rid of stress completely. That's impossible, maybe even undesirable.
Right. The goal is efficient cycling. Stress, recover. Stress, recover. And the fastest biological route to influence that recovery cycle seems to be the vagus nerve.
Ah, yes, the vagus nerve. I've heard it called the superhighway of the parasympathetic system, the brake system.
It really is. It's the main communication line from your brain down to your major organs, basically telling them, okay, time to shift into rest and digest mode.
So if you can influence that nerve,
You can directly improve your body's ability to recover. Enhance what's called vagal tone.
okay, which brings us to some of that tech you mentioned, vagal nerve stimulation, VNS.
Precisely. VNS involves using devices that send very mild electrical impulses to the vagus nerve, usually non-invasively through the skin on the neck.
And that sort of jumpstarts the recovery system?
It essentially encourages the system to engage those parasympathetic recovery mechanisms more strongly and quickly. There was this analogy we found, kind of catchy,
What was it?
that VNS can offer something like 2 hours of meditation in 2 minutes.
Whoa, okay, that's potent. 2 hours and 2 minutes. That definitely captures the appeal for busy professionals.
It does. The efficiency factor is huge.
Yeah.
If you're, say, a trader in the middle of a market meltdown, you don't have 2 hours for a retreat. You need rapid state management. Now,
But regular VNS use helps retrain that response.
that's the idea. It helps sort of rewire that recovery pathway over time, improve those baseline HRV scores, maybe enhance sleep quality, restore some of that cognitive flexibility that gets lost under chronic stress. It's like finding a very precise physiological lever to pull.
Okay, but let me push back slightly on that meditation in 2 minutes thing. Isn't there a risk there? Relying on a gadget might make people, well, lazy about doing the actual mental work. You know, traditional mindfulness or meditation.
That's a really important question, and I think the perspective should be that VNS is primarily a tool for rapid physiological intervention, and maybe like training wheels for the nervous system.
Training wheels.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a replacement for mental discipline. By helping quickly establish the physiological state of calm or recovery, it can actually make the mental task, like sustained attention and meditation, much easier to achieve later on.
I see. So it helps create the right internal environment first.
Exactly. Think of it as an accelerant for building physiological capacity, rather than a substitute for developing cognitive skills like focus or emotional regulation. They work best together.
Okay, that makes more sense. So we've covered the nervous system mechanics, the ANS balance, HRV as the measure, and VNS tech as an intervention. Now let's talk fuel. Beyond the hardware, where are these high performers getting the actual neuroenergy they need?
Right. Now we move into the nutritional toolkit. And one that keeps coming up for cognitive benefits, surprisingly to some, is creatine.
I always associate that with bodybuilders, muscle gain.
People do. But we need to remember the brain's energy demands. It's huge. Only about 2% of your body weight, but it guzzles, what, 20% of your total energy?
20%, wow. And that demand must just skyrocket under acute stress or intense focus.
Absolutely. And that's where creatine comes in for the brain. It acts as this rapid, high-capacity energy buffer. Think of it like a quick-access energy reserve right there in the brain cells.
So when you're under pressure.
Its benefits really shine. The research suggests it can reduce mental fatigue, improve working memory, which is crucial for complex tasks, and just generally boost performance on really demanding cognitive challenges.
So vital if you're dealing with, say, sleep deprivation or need to make rapid-fire decisions, like in an ER or during intense market trading.
Precisely those kinds of situations. It helps maintain that cognitive output when the system is stressed.
Okay, creatine for energy buffering. What's next? You mentioned inflammation earlier, how it drags down HRV and causes that brain fog.
Yes, inflammation is a huge piece of this puzzle. And this leads us to something called the resolution revolution in nutrition. Specifically, specialized pro-resolving mediators, or SPMs.
Okay, sounds technical. Break that down.
Right, so SPMs are actually derived from omega-3 fatty acids, like fish oil, but they do something fundamentally different than, say, standard anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen.
Different how?
Okay, think of inflammation like the body sending out the fire department to deal with damage or an infection. That's necessary. Standard anti-inflammatories, They basically just suppress the alarm bells and maybe slow down the firefighters. They dampen the immediate response.
So they kind of hit the brakes, but maybe leave the mess behind.
Exactly. They often shut down the process before the cleanup is done. SPMs, on the other hand, are like the specialized cleanup crew. They don't just suppress the inflammation, they actively promote its resolution.
Meaning they finish the job.
Precisely. They actively signal for the debris to be cleared, for the tissues to return completely to normal function, to homeostasis.
Okay, so the benefit is?
Much faster and more complete recovery from stressors, both physical and cognitive. This directly impacts mental clarity, reduces that lingering brain fog. You're not just putting a lid on the symptoms, you're actually ensuring the biological process finishes properly.
That's a critical distinction, huge for anyone needing sustained mental sharpness. Okay, sticking with fuel, we should also touch on ketone esters.
Yes, ketones. Often linked with ketogenic diets or metabolic efficiency, but they also serve as a really interesting alternative fuel source for the brain.
Alternative fuel. When would the brain need that?
Well, during times of significant metabolic stress, think very long shifts, maybe periods of fasting, or just extremely high, prolonged cognitive output where glucose supply might fluctuate or become less efficient.
Yeah.
Ketones offer a very clean, very efficient energy substrate.
And what's a specific cognitive edge they might provide?
The research points towards enhancing things like sustained attention and working memory. Those are often the first cognitive skills to degrade under fatigue.
So again, thinking about maybe an air traffic controller or someone pulling an all-nighter on a critical project.
Or a trader dealing with like 16 hours of insane market volatility. Ketones could provide that necessary metabolic buffer to maintain performance when glucose metabolism might be faltering.
And you mentioned ketones have a kind of dual benefit.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond just being an acute fuel source, ketones seem to have significant neuroprotective properties, longer-term benefits.
Like what?
Well, some evidence suggests they might enhance something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF. What's that?
Think of it like fertilizer for your neurons. It helps them grow, survive, form new connections. So ketones might support long-term brain health and cognitive longevity, not just immediate performance.
So it's not just a sprint fuel, it could be a long-term maintenance thing too.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
It's an exciting area of research.
Okay.
Hey, this is fascinating. We've got these really targeted tools, VNS for recovery, creatine for energy, SPMs for inflammation resolution, ketones for alternative fuel. Powerful stuff.
But they all operate on a foundation, right? If that foundation is cracked, none of this fancy stuff matters as much.
Right.
Absolutely. The foundation is everything. And that brings us squarely to the two most critical pillars, sleep and, well, the mind itself. Let's start with sleep. You really can't overstate its importance, can you? Sleep optimization feels non-negotiable.
It is the ultimate recovery protocol, period. Sleep is when the vast majority of neurological repair happens. When memories get consolidated, when hormones get regulated for the next day. You simply cannot outsource this biological maintenance.
And there's that recent discovery, too, the glymphatic system. It sounds like the brain literally washing itself.
That's a great way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah.
The glymphatic system. Basically, while you're sleeping, especially during deep sleep stages, cerebrospinal fluid flows much more rapidly through your brain tissue.
Flushing things out.
Essentially, yes. It's flushing out metabolic waste products that built up while you were awake, things like amyloid beta and tau proteins, which people might recognize are linked to cognitive decline and diseases like Alzheimer's.
Wow. So if you skimp on deep sleep, you're literally leaving metabolic trash accumulating in your brain.
That's a pretty visceral and likely accurate way to think about it. It really underscores why sleep quality matters just as much, if not more, than just the total hours.
Okay, so quality over quantity. What are the key factors for optimizing sleep quality that our sources kept highlighting, beyond just hitting 7 or 8 hours?
Number one is probably circadian alignment. Your body runs on an internal clock.
Sun up, sundown.
Basically.
Yeah.
Sun up, performance time, sundown, or recovery time. Having consistent sleep-wake cycles, even on weekends, really helps reset that clock and optimize the timing of hormone release, like melatonin for sleep and cortisol for waking.
Makes sense. What else?
Second is environment control. This is huge. Managing light exposure is critical, especially eliminating blue light from screens in the hour or two before bed, as it directly suppresses melatonin.
Right, put the phone away.
Definitely. And also controlling temperature. A slightly cool room temperature actually facilitates falling asleep and staying asleep for most people.
Okay, light and temperature. Anything else?
And third, paying attention to and ideally monitoring your sleep architecture.
Sleep architecture, meaning the different stages.
Deep sleep, as we mentioned with the glymphatic system, is absolutely paramount for physical and mental restoration. REM sleep is critical for memory consolidation and emotional processing. If you wake up feeling like you got 7 hours, but maybe only 30 minutes, was restorative deep sleep.
You'll still feel off the next day.
Exactly. Your working memory, your attention, your mood will likely be significantly compromised. Using monitoring devices, even simple wearables, can help people understand where they might be falling short. Maybe not enough deep sleep, maybe too many wake-ups, so they can target interventions.
Okay, sleep is fundamental. What about the other pillar you mentioned, the mind? We touched on meditation with VNS, but let's dig deeper. You frame it not just as relaxation, but active training.
Absolutely. It's crucial to reframe meditation, especially for high performers. It's not passive relaxation. It's structured training for the mind. It's essentially a workout that builds neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt.
Okay, training for what specific skills?
Well, different practices train different things. Focused attention practices like concentrating on the breath directly strengthen the prefrontal cortex. That's the brain's CEO, responsible for executive functions like concentration, planning, impulse control.
So it helps you stay focused despite distractions, priceless and demanding jobs.
Totally. Then you have mindfulness practices, which involve observing thoughts and feelings without judgment. This enhances emotional regulation. It helps you notice stress without immediately reacting to it, giving you space to choose a more considered response.
And bringing it full circle, there's a direct link back to HRV and the nervous system here too, right?
Immediate link. Many meditation practices, particularly controlled breathing techniques, directly stimulate the vagus nerve and promote that parasympathetic rest and digest state. So you're actively training your nervous system to recover more efficiently, which improves your baseline HRV over time.
So it really is skill building, which makes accessibility important. People think they need hours.
Right, but you don't necessarily. We saw protocols using very simple techniques, like box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Doing that for just 1 to 3 minutes can be incredibly effective for immediate state management.
1 to 3 minutes. Anyone can find time for that.
Exactly. These brief, targeted practices can quickly build the skill of shifting your physiological state. And now you can combine this with modern biofeedback devices, things that give you real-time data on your heart rate, your breathing, even your HRV during the practice.
So you get instant feedback on whether you're actually shifting your state.
Precisely. It makes the training incredibly precise, measurable, and often much more effective, especially for people who like data and clear feedback.
Okay, so stepping back now and looking at this whole toolkit, HRV monitoring, VNS, creatine, SPMs, ketones, optimizing sleep, meditation practice, it's clear this isn't just picking one thing off a menu.
No, not at all. It has to be an integrated system. You're managing cycles of stress and recovery, so you need the monitoring like HRV to see where you are. You need the strong foundation sleep and mental training. And then you layer in the targeted interventions, VNS, nutrition, where needed.
It really feels like the new frontier of performance.
I think it is. The old lines between purely physical performance and cognitive performance, they basically evaporated. The sophisticated, objective principles that elite athletes have used for decades, systematic monitoring, carefully planned recovery, personalized training loads, those principles now apply universally to anyone in a demanding cognitive profession.
But, as we discussed, it can't just be a generic checklist. You can't just copy what someone else does and expect the same results. Absolutely not. That's maybe the most crucial element. Personalization.
Correct.
Individual variability is enormous. What works wonders for one person might do nothing, or even be stressful for another. So you have to experiment, track your own data.
Yes. High performers, or anyone serious about this, need to continually monitor their own response to these interventions, using objective metrics like HRV, sleep data, even subjective feelings of energy and focus, and then adjust their protocols based on that data. It has to be a scientific and of one approach to optimizing yourself.
So the ultimate goal here, it isn't really about eliminating stress entirely. Stress can be good. It drives achievement.
Right. Stress is the stimulus for growth, often. The goal is to develop this deep, profound neurophysiological resilience, the capacity not just to withstand intense pressure, but to actually thrive under it while maintaining your long-term health and mental clarity.
Thrive under pressure, not just survive it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to maybe the final thought we want to leave everyone with today. Think about the traditional paths to high performance. They focused almost exclusively on just acquiring skills and knowledge. Practice your craft, learn more stuff.
Right, the 10,000 hours rule sort of idea.
Kind of. But we've seen today that those approaches have a physiological ceiling. You can hit a wall based purely on the limits of your nervous system's capacity to handle the load.
Okay.
So the adoption of these more objective neurophysiological resilience tools, really understanding and managing your HRV, potentially using things like VNS, targeted nutrition like SPMs or creatine, mastering sleep, this isn't just some optional extra for top performers to get a tiny edge anymore.
Becoming what?
I think it's rapidly becoming a competitive necessity, a fundamental requirement for maintaining excellence and longevity in a world that's only getting faster, more complex, and more demanding. Ignoring the hardware is no longer an option if you want to stay at the top of your game.